righty, chat. Let's get started. Welcome to another Healthy Gamer GG stream. Just a reminder that although I'm a psychiatrist, nothing we discuss on stream today is intended to be taken as medical advice. Everything is for educational or entertainment purposes only. If y'all have a medical concern or question, please go see a licensed professional. So super psyched today. We have a viewer interview today, which is something that we have not done for a long time. I apologize, y'all, but as we grew... So the early stages, the early days of Healthy Gamer GG were just me talking to people on the internet, and man, did I love it. And then what started to happen is we started to grow. And then more people wanted to come on, which was great. So we were talking to people like 3 times a week. And then what started happening is people like kept on asking these questions. So we started to do things like lectures, and that was great too, because it was still us and y'all. And then... things started to change. We grew even more, and then people started inviting Dr. K to places, and then I started saying, okay, fine, I will come, because we want to spread the message of the cult. No. Because, you know, people would invite us, and I think it helps to have discussions about things like mental health on different people's platforms, so we would do that kind of thing, and then we started going to academic conferences and doing things like presenting our research, and then we started going to different places and more places and more places and more places. And so along with all of that, y'all also asked for more stuff. And so we started doing things like deep dives. We launched memberships, which is going super well. People seem to be very happy at it. We're kind of going back to some of the old stuff that we used to do. I know for some of y'all that don't have or upset about that, we're still going to be doing deep dives and stuff on the main channel. So if y'all are interested in more stuff, go for it. We take all those resources and we use it to build more things for y'all. So yeah, so today we're going back to a viewer interview. But before we hop in, we've got a couple of cool things to see. Okay, so let's go, chat. I saw someone made something funny. Let's watch it together. Here we go. Okay, let's see how loud this is. It's like all these zombies out there that are like vagina. Hold on, let me just... We just need to listen to that part again because, you know... It's like all these zombies out there that are like vagina. The fuck? And you just can't go anywhere without, like, this shit happening to you. And if you want to understand what this is like as a man, this is what I'd say. Imagine your mom was everywhere. That every person you ran into was your mom. Every time you join a video game or you're in a voice chat lobby, your mom is there. And she's like, have you taken out the laundry? Did you do your homework? Imagine that no matter where you go, your mom is there. You go to the coffee shop, you pick up a coffee, your mom's behind the counter, and she's like, hey, did you do the laundry? Did you do your homework? And then you're like, I hate this. You're walking down the street, you decide to go work out. Your mom walks up to you, and she's like, hey, did you do the laundry? Did you do your homework? And you're like, fucking hey, leave me alone. Then you go home, and you're like, I'm going to play games with my friends. Your mom hops into Discord, and she's like, hey, did you do your laundry? Did you do your homework? There's no escape. Wherever you go, you log on to Twitch chat and someone else like says something and then your mom shows up in Twitch chat and she's like, lol, noob, did you do your laundry? Did you do your homework? There's no escape. It sucks. I don't know like what to say besides that. It's like everywhere you go, like you're getting aggroed by your mom. That's the closest analogy. I don't even know exactly what the context of this is. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Do y'all know what I'm talking about, chat? Does this make sense like to y'all? All these zombies out there that are like vagina. Oh, I guess I get it now. Vagina. Right. So I guess the analogy is like, this is what it's like to be a woman on the internet, where it's like you're constantly being hounded by the same damn message over and over and over again. Maybe that's what the analogy is. I don't know, chat. But, so this is the thing y'all gotta understand. Sometimes I open my mouth and people think it's good. But I don't even remember what I say. It's like I'm a medium and I'm channeling some higher order internet troll. All right. Okay, what are we doing here? All right, let's go here and then let's go here. So just a quick announcement before we hop in. So we did our deep dives into karma, which was lots of fun. And then we did, so in 2 days, we're starting our deep dive into attachment. I'm looking forward to it. So if y'all want to understand how this is going to be a little bit different. So our deep dives into attachment are going to be not necessarily new techniques. There's going to be some new stuff in there, but something to understand about as we get more advanced into stuff. And this is what I really like about sort of this model that we're using is it lets us go more advanced. And more advanced is not oftentimes new things. It is oftentimes more subtle versions of the old things, which is what advancement in the yogic path is like, right? So if we even look at things like video games, it's like if you want to climb ranks, it's not that you need to do a whole lot of new stuff. It's that you need to get more refined, more precise, and more subtle at doing the stuff that other people do or that you used to do, right? So if you're playing like a position 1 or a carry or an ADC or something like that, like farming is like the core thing. But you can get better and better and more refined at it. That's kind of what we'll be diving into. So if y'all are interested in more of that subtle, refined, detailed take, then definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. I think we're doing good stuff. Yeah. So let's hop into our interview. One second, chat. Okay. We are starting this. Let me see if this works. All right. I hear myself. Echo. Hello.
Hi.
All right. Give me
hold on, my camera.
1 second.
Right.
Nope. We want this. No, there we go. Hello, my friend. Can you count to 10 for me?
Hi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Perfect. One more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Great.
9, 10.
All right. I'm just trying to adjust my volume in my speaker position. Welcome, my friend. What do you go by?
I don't know. Maybe call me by my Discord name, I guess.
Great. Let's do it. And what is your Discord name?
Locrian.
Locrian?
Yes.
It's nice to meet you, Locrian. I am Olive, but the internet knows me as Dr. K.
I've heard.
And what are we going to be talking about today, Locrian?
Well, I guess. Okay. So, okay, there's half, I guess, sure, like dating related stuff.
Okay.
Half, just, I don't know, I guess, maybe psychosomatic symptoms that kind of just started overnight that I can't really explain. And there's a bunch of stuff.
Okay, sure. What would you like to start with?
So I guess, yeah, we can start with the psychosomatic part.
Okay.
So it's like this basically, I something like maybe almost 6 years ago now. Before 6 years ago, I hadn't understood anything about
And
depression.
how old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like 21. Before I was 21, anything mental health related, I was completely fine. I would wake up and I'd be like, wow, I'm actually happy. I'm like, normal. And I didn't get depression. And suddenly, basically one night or one day, or basically like I broke up with my first girlfriend. And I felt so bad for her. that like, and I was grieving so hard that like the stress triggered like all of these symptoms like brain fog and irritability, like random things like restless leg syndrome, like eczema, all that stuff. And it just, since then, it didn't like, even when the issue resolved, it didn't really go away.
Hmm.
It kind of has persisted. I'm still experiencing them. And in my mind, like I eventually came to the conclusion, oh, it must be, something I'm doing, or like maybe it must be physical, is visible. Because I denied for a long time that it could be mental.
Okay.
Um, and so I've come a long, long way trying to understand what the hell is causing this. I've gone back and forth between like, oh, it must be mental, or maybe I'm just depressed or something. And at this point, I don't even know. I'm not
Okay.
sure. And I'm not like expecting to be diagnosed or anything, but like just, you know, things like, because like I feel like I personally don't know anyone. Like I know plenty of people who take like SSRIs or Lexapro or whatever, which I do take as well.
Hmm.
But like I've never known someone who has symptoms like me. Um,
Okay.
in the way that I do, which is interesting. And relevant to dating, it does 100% impact my social life in general, and I guess in my
How,
dating life as well.
okay. So you mentioned diagnosis. Let's just make sure we're on the same page. So
Yeah,
I'm happy to talk to you about this stuff because I think here we just talk to people about their experiences of their life. And that can
yeah,
absolutely include physical challenges that you're dealing with, mental challenges that you're dealing with. I won't be diagnosing or treating you for anything, but I'm more than happy to just talk about, like, as we learn, like I can explain certain principles of like psychosomatic medicine and just help us understand like almost more in a general principles format. And we can talk about how that could apply to you. But I'm guessing you've seen a doctor because it sounds like you're on some medication, especially for some of these things like restless leg syndrome. We have pretty good treatments for that. Have you tried to see a doctor for any of that stuff?
I've
Eczema?
seen it. I've seen a million doctors for everything.
You have seen a million doctors for everything?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that sounds rough, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you were, so if you're okay with that, I'm happy to talk about the whole, because I think this is way too common. Where you said that like some of these physical things that you deal with interfere with your social life, and that's kind of the intersection that we see. So can you tell, or so are you okay with those kind of ground rules?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about how it impacts your social life.
Um, I mean, a lot of times I guess, so on the daily basis, my mood is kind of just like RNG, I guess.
Okay.
Like in it, I don't know. Really depends on. I don't know. It's not like some days I'm just really really easily um upset by something.
Like what?
Like I don't know, small like the tiniest social rejections will will make me feel just really 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 bad.
Okay.
And um yeah, I think that's a big theme is just random like social rejections.
And what's your understanding as to why you're more susceptible to them on some days as opposed to other days?
That's the thing. So it's like this variable that's set in my body that's like you're more sensitive to things today, and then
Okay.
tomorrow you might be completely fine. Um, yeah, I've
Okay.
never
So
figured out what
maybe
it
we
is.
can try to understand a little bit about how that works because that can absolutely happen. And you mentioned that so your social life is affected by this. So I'm a little bit confused because you mentioned social life being affected by your physical symptoms. Is that what you meant?
I mean, yeah, I would say so. I mean, I
How
would
so?
just see it affects my overall life, but in social life, that's a part of that.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like? What are the things that bother you the most?
Mm, So you mean just in general?
I was more referring to physical stuff, but if you want to talk in general,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So not in a way directly related to my social life. The physical stuff, I guess. Um, I do randomly wake up early for no reason, and then I'll be like really, really um, like if I don't get that much sleep or like my sleep was really poor quality, I'll uh, just later in the day I'll just randomly just start um, like not panicking. Like I've never had like a panic attack or anything, but like my heart will just start racing. I'll become like irritable and like really scared of everything. Um, and I
What,
guess that
when you get irritable, what pisses you off?
I don't know. I'll just start like ruminating about random things that have happened to me.
Like what?
I mean, it could be anything. Like, I don't know how much I want to get into the specific things that have happened to me, but um, I don't know, like something someone said to me that like bothered me.
Okay.
Uh, I'll just start ruminating.
Okay.
Um,
So
but
I'm kind
like,
of, yeah, so I don't, if you don't want to get into it, don't get into it, but let's notice something, right? So here we are talking about something and you're, I don't think, I'm not trying to push you towards it. So please understand that. Okay. But your mind is like, let's stay away from that. Right. So if I ask you about what irritates you, which is not, I'm not trying to pry, but do you see how there's like a slight avoidance there? I'm not saying that we need to overcome it. I'm asking you to
yeah,
observe,
I get what you're saying. I
right?
think I mean, I mean, you have to understand part of my avoidance is uh, I'm on stream.
Yeah, of course, of course, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
So
So
now comes the next question, which is, do you avoid this stuff in some way outside of our conversation?
let me think. Um, there's definitely stuff I avoid. Um, so if we're talking about things that irritate me, I wouldn't say I avoid things. Um, okay, things that I think about that I avoid. Mm, I think there's some things I can't think of them right now though.
Okay, that's fine. Happens a lot. Stream brain.
I mean, there are random. Actually, I mean, yeah, there are random. Like, I think there are things that I've. There are some things that I try not to think about, and
Okay.
then there are other things that I've thought so much about, like for hours and hours, that like you could have done with it.
And so once you think about something for hours and hours and hours, are you done with it, or does that still feel like it's unresolved in some way?
I think they're still unresolved.
Okay.
Like when I become irritable and my body turns into that state of being irritable, then those things will come up, and I'll be like, I can't believe this thing happened to me like 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're opening some attic in your mind and like stuff comes flooding out. Like stuff that has been stored up
Well,
there for a long time. Huh?
yeah, I'll just find like anything to be irritated, pissed off about.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about that relationship and why you felt so guilty? And when did that breakup happen, by the way?
So it was like mid 2018.
Okay, so
Um,
6 years ago.
so I felt, yeah, yeah. Um, I felt guilty because I, it was just, I mean, it was just my first relationship or whatever. I was just happy that someone liked me back. And then um, she also was like depressed-ish. I
Hmm.
mean, I wasn't really, I was like mostly fine, but I like, yeah, it was just like, oh, like you won't get bored of me when you leave, right? And then like, no, of course not. And I did. Yeah, it was really fucking, it sucked. I just felt terrible.
And and what help me understand what the relationship was like that you wanted to break up with her.
I mean, it was more like just that I just realized I didn't really like her all that much. Like,
Okay.
I didn't want to be in a relationship with her that much.
What made you not want to be in a relationship with her that much?
Uh, just general, I guess, I don't know, feeling attraction, being like dealing with, I don't know, random. I guess that's primarily it.
What
But
was it
there's
like to be
just,
in a relationship with her?
I mean, it wasn't like, it was just, it's hard. Like, I don't know, just wasn't really into it.
Okay.
It was, I will say there's like a lot of constantly having to kind of reassure, and that was really, really draining.
Yeah, sounds like it.
There, there was like random times I just feel, yeah, it was just draining at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hearing that maybe your role in the relationship changed and your experience of it wasn't so much about like attraction and fun and started to become like kind of like exhausting, sort of like supportive, like maybe like kind of relentlessly supportive.
Maybe. I mean, it was only like 3 months or
Okay.
something before I like kind of broke out.
And how did you help me understand why you felt so guilty? So it sounds like you felt pretty guilty.
Because thinking about it, I don't know, like I mean, I just felt like I guess I just feel like I don't know. I just feel bad for people pretty easily.
Okay.
So especially since it was like under my responsibility, right? It's like something you have to do, you shouldn't feel guilty about, but you know, I don't know. It's like the firing squad, you know. You're the one who has to pull the trigger. I don't know.
Okay. So you felt like you have to pull the trigger on this relationship, like you have to do the,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
and that's an image right there. Uh, and so you felt guilty for like putting her through the pain of a breakup.
yeah,
Yeah. And so it sounds like you felt pretty responsible for her.
yeah.
And it also sounds like she kind of encouraged that. Like I heard you kind of make a, like a quick clip of it almost sounded like she was saying like, oh, like you're gonna get bored of me or something. Was that something she said?
She didn't like encourage it, no, but she was just wanted reassurance. It's like past experiences and stuff like that. I don't remember exactly what, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you broke up with her. You weren't like too into the relationship. You felt like
Yeah.
it had to be done and she was pretty hurt. And what made you feel guilty about that situation?
I mean, I guess it just felt like it was my fault. I just felt, I don't know, like it was my fault or, I
What
mean, it was
part
my fault.
what was your fault? What was the what was the mistake you made?
I guess getting in, I mean, like, I guess not realizing that I wasn't actually that into her. Like,
Okay.
I was more driven by, like, I guess, I don't know, lust at first. And, like, just, I guess that I was validated, I guess, for once.
What did that feel like?
It felt really good.
Is that does that happen to you often or is that not very common for you?
I wouldn't say it's very common. It's become like incrementally more common over the years, but like pretty much not, you
Okay.
know.
And so tell me about what's been like. Oh, what's life like after the breakup? So we are 21 years old. You're guilty for some amount of time. Do you still feel guilty today?
No, I don't give a
Okay.
shit. That's the thing is when I tell therapists about that, they're like, "Oh, there must be trauma there. It's got to be like lingering trauma." And it's like, "No, I got over it." Like or like once the whole thing resolved, she got a new boyfriend. It was great. And then my symptoms are still there and like stuff like that. And now, I mean, if she's getting married, I think she's married. I don't know, but
Cool.
yeah, that's it's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you're over that. So tell me what the last couple years have been like for you. So between 21 and 27,
So let's see. Graduated university.
what was that
Uh,
like?
I didn't do anything in university socially. I netted zero friends.
Okay.
I went to class and came back. I graduated.
Did you celebrate your graduation?
No,
Okay.
I didn't have, yeah, I didn't attend graduation because like it was a COVID kind of thing, online, whatever. Um, I didn't have a graduation party. Um, I don't really think about it. I had a degree.
Okay. And what happened after graduation?
Oh, and then so took me some months to find a job, and now and so when I turned 24, was I yeah, when I turned 24, I got a big tech job. And so I worked in my hometown for a year remotely. Since it was still like COVID and work from home stuff. Then um, the beginning 3 years ago, the start of 3 years ago, start of 2022, I moved to big city or whatever, um, for my job. And so then I started, I guess, dating and stuff.
So well,
Um,
you don't have to go into details about what your big tech job is or what city you're in,
yeah.
but can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to get a big tech job? Like, what was that experience like?
Well, I dedicated I mean, it was nice because it felt like everything I did paid off.
And
I spent all of college like, you know, being pretty socially isolated and did just I dedicated a lot of my entire self-worth to I must get a well-paying job.
okay.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like between maybe around 22 and 24 you had a different job?
I graduated when I was 23, and
Okay.
then when I got my job, I was 24.
So your first big job, your first job out of college was a big tech job.
Yeah,
And what was the application process like for you?
it's fine. I mean, I don't know how much I can go into. It's
I don't want to know the details of what you did. What I'm curious about is what was your experience? Did you feel confident? Did you feel like
I think I felt confident back
okay,
then. Back then it was kind of like it was a good market
okay,
compared to what it is.
okay? So you felt pretty good about it. You applied. The application doesn't. Was it like super hard for you to apply? Did you have like confidence issues or anything like that?
I think it was fine
Okay,
for the most part. Yeah.
and then you got your job, and then you moved to a big city, and
Yeah.
then you started. What was that move like?
Well, I was certainly very lonely. I mean, I don't think I felt the loneliness, but like, I still don't have any real friends here, actually,
Okay,
in 3 years or
how do you
more.
understand that?
Actually, sorry, 2 years, a little more than 2 years. How do I understand that? Um, what part of it?
How do you understand you're not having friends after being here for a couple of years?
Well, I think part of the truth is almost, I mean, I kind of haven't really tried to. Um, I mean, yeah, I don't know. And I tell myself I don't really care, but like, I mean, that's a really conflicting thing is because I don't want to be lonely and I want social stuff, but like, the actual act of having friends or making a friend just sound like, I don't know. I never like, I don't know. It's such a conflicting thing, and it's difficult to talk to therapists about, or when I talk to my therapists about this, like, they don't really understand. They don't get it.
What makes it difficult to talk about with your therapists?
Because the thing is, I'm not what I've gathered about myself over the years is that I'm not all that interested in people, but like I kind of am at the same time. Like on one hand, like I do want like social validation. I want friends and hanging out with people, but like if there was a person who's like, hey, this person can be my friend, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through the effort.
And what's your understanding of why that doesn't feel worth it to you? Right? Because it feels
I
like it's
don't
not
know.
worth it. Like,
I've been trying to, I don't know, I've been trying to figure that out. Like because a long time ago, I was like, it's like what is it? Um, Dale Carnegie, whatever his book, he's just like to be genuinely interested in people, right? But being genuinely interested in people, becoming genuinely interested in people is like really, really hard, and no one seems to know how to do that. And it seems like something that maybe you just are that way, or maybe there's just maybe it's my past experiences that have just kind of made me this way. I don't know.
so like you find people to be like boring.
Some people, I mean, I wouldn't put it that way exactly. But there's just no way for me to make a connection, I guess. Like we just don't click really. Um, I don't think I click with there's few people I click with well, and I think those people I'm actually interested in talking to.
What kind of people
Yeah,
do you click with?
I think I mean, realistically, people with like similar interests and stuff, but like I don't know exactly how true that is, because realistically, I think it's people who are interested in talking to me are very easy. So like I tend to only become friends with like extroverts.
Okay.
It's because you very clearly get um right, conversation is a two-way thing. And so uh you get like it's very easy to tell when someone is not interested in talking to you. With extroverts who are interested in talking to you, it's very easy to tell that they are interested in talking to you. So you get something out of it. And it's yeah, those people are easier to become friends with. Extroverts who are actually interested in you.
Okay. When you say it's very easy to tell, is it very easy to tell when people are interested in you, or very easy to tell when they're not interested in you, or
I
both?
would say I would say it's pretty easy to tell if people are not interested in talking to you. Um, if someone's interested in what you're saying, I would say I can tell usually. I just don't know how much they're interested. Like maybe they
Okay.
could just have good body language and all that.
Can other people tell if you're interested?
Um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
If
I
I
don't really know. Yeah, I don't know how people see me from the outside. Like, I mean, I'm constantly like thinking about how I'm perceived, but that's not something that I can like. I just never given it much thought, I guess.
Okay. So when someone interacts with you, what is that like for them?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think that so I mean I used to think I was a pretty um not very interesting person. I think that's because the people I was talking to I wasn't interested in. But
Okay.
yeah, I think I don't really give a lot of people like the because conversation is a two-way thing. I think I often don't give people the positive uh, reinforcement. Like if they tell a joke, I'm not gonna like laugh out loud. Um, and so like people aren't like thrilled to talk to me, you know. Um, yeah,
What do you think about that?
kind of sucks because I think deeply I want someone to be happy to see me, right? And I guess I haven't felt that in like a really long time.
Sounds super sad, bro.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's it like to live a life where people aren't excited to see you?
I don't know. It's just I feel like that's what drives me to get validation.
What does that term mean, validation? You've used it a couple times. What do you mean by that?
Just, I guess, reassurance that you are a person of value, maybe. So
Okay.
that's one way to put it.
Okay. How's your relationship with your family?
It's okay. I mean, it's fine now, I think. But we grew up, I mean, very, it wasn't, when I looked at like normal American families, I'd see people who were like, they were like pretty much friends with like their dad or mom or their family members. I like no one came home and was asking me like, how my day was and stuff like that, or like aren't having dinner together ever. Um, and if something good happened to me, I didn't tell my parents about it. Something bad happened to me, I didn't tell my parents about it. It was very like secular almost, and basically it was just like only really like important stuff that we'd talk to each other about.
Okay. What can you paint me a picture of what growing up was like? Like, what were your days like? What would happen? Like when you were
Mm.
like 10, like what was a typical day like?
I'd go to school, I'd come home uh, at like 3 or something, and then I guess go on the computer.
What would you do on the
Uh,
computer?
I don't know, play like Maple Story.
Nice.
I don't know. And then maybe I guess at some point I got an Xbox or something, but oh, I play outside sometimes. Those were,
By yourself or with friends or what?
I had a neighbor, or I had my best friend lived pretty close to me, so
And are y'all still in touch?
not like too much. I would say that particular friend not much anymore. But that era does I do have some fond memories.
Like what?
I don't know. It was just I mean there was just no stress. Go play your Nintendo DS. Um, play basketball outside. Go hang out at the at our elementary school off hours.
Did
It's just
you how'd you do in school?
oh boy. So in fourth grade, I think my mom got a job. So like I grew up from until third grade or until second grade. I did fine in because my mom worked like part-time jobs and stuff, and then
Hmm.
she got a job in the medical field. Um, so starting third grade I did fine. Fourth grade things dropped off because no one was there to really tell me, hey, do your homework. And I was diagnosed with ADHD. I was started meds. I started Adderall in fourth grade. Um, and took it until 10th grade. So my grades, I would say in math and stuff was pretty good, but in like reading or whatever, and like history, the stuff where you actually had to do homework and stuff, it was like not great. Wasn't terrible, like,
You
but
don't have to
yeah.
do homework in math?
I mean, it was just like, I don't know, you do it like, I don't even remember what homework was like back then, but for math, it was like you could do it in class,
Okay.
worksheets and stuff. Like, I was good at that stuff.
What changed in the 10th grade?
10th grade, I think I decided, um, I was like, you know what, maybe I don't, like, what if I don't even have ADHD? What if I don't need it? And then, oh, I also like realized that like I think the meds were causing me like tunnel vision. Like, um, it was like holding me back, I was thinking, which in a way it might have been. But I think I was actually right about that. But so I stopped taking it just out of my own volition. And I mean, it's not like my grades got like, I don't know, a lot of things changed. Not because of the meds directly, but like that was the second half of high school starting. Um, I don't know, high school was fine. I was like a B student, A B. I don't know, but
Did you enjoy
yeah,
high school?
it was fine. I don't really think about it much. I think, yeah, I think it was fine. Like, I just was kind of there. Like, I mean, I was in like, I was in band. I had a good group of friends. I, I generally like enjoyed my time there. I didn't hate it
Okay.
like a lot of people do.
Okay.
Some stuff I hate, like some teachers and some classes, like English class, but yeah, whatever.
So that's kind of interesting, right? So I'm hearing a couple of things that sound a little bit strange to me. So the first is like, so when I'm envisioning your life, it doesn't seem fine. It actually seems good in a lot of ways. Like you've got a good group of friends. Doesn't sound like you were bullied. Doesn't sound like you were like failing out. Like no undiagnosed ADHD. You've got friends. You're playing Xbox. You're doing band. It sounds good.
Yeah,
Would
I
you
think
say it
so.
was good?
I think it was good because I do genuinely remember, like, I would see people, like, when I started going on Reddit, like ninth grade or something, and people were like, oh, I'm depressed. Like, I've never, like, depression was like such a, meme at that point. And I didn't get it. I truly could not comprehend that mindset. And it's not like I thought it was stupid. I was just like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was something
Later that,
missing in high school? Did you feel like, or were you good just kind of like chilling?
I guess it would have been nice to have like a relationship or something. Like at that time, I had felt like I did want like, validation in the dating realm or something. But I was like, okay, not having that.
And does validation in the dating realm mean being wanted by someone?
I guess wanting someone and then wanting you back would
Right.
be.
Okay. So I just want to point something out. So I noticed that sometimes when you describe things, you're pretty like in the neutral zone. So if we just pay attention to your language, like things aren't good or great, everything is okay, it's fine, it's whatever. Like, do you see that?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, I just don't really think about high school that much anymore. I mean,
No,
it
I'm not.
could,
I'm not talking about high school. I'm talking about the language that you use to describe your experiences tends to be toned down or it tends to get pushed towards neutral. Right? So nothing is great. Nothing is terrible. Things are like okay or not the best.
yeah, I can see that.
Right? So once again, what did you just say? Like,
I can,
yeah, I
I
can
can
see
see where
that.
you,
Right? You see that? So
Okay.
it's interesting. So what's the significance? Who the fuck knows? I'm just kind of pointing it out, right? So maybe it'll become important. Maybe it won't become important. So I'm hearing that high school was like, okay, you maybe wanted to, be crushing on someone and have them crush back. But I think a pretty universal high school experience is that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
So
I did have a pretty big crush for like a
yeah,
year.
yeah.
She rejected me, and actually, I cried in the shower and I got over it. And it was, I'm pretty proud of myself for that actually.
Yeah.
Like it I stopped caring after that.
Okay. What does that mean? Stopped caring. How did that happen? You just cried and walk us through that.
I mean, I was just, she didn't like me back. We were on like some band trip or something. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna go take a shower because we like shared a hotel room, and I went in the shower and cried. And then I
You
was like,
you shared a hotel room with your crush?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
Okay. No, it was like we were sharing a hotel room, like my band friends.
Okay. And did you tell anyone that you were going to ask her out?
How it exactly happened is a little. One of my other friends was stupid and somehow got her number and texted her that I liked her. And then when it came to like hey, does she actually like me back? She said no or whatever. But whatever. Yeah.
And then how did you feel?
I mean, it sucked. There's the neutral tone again, but
Good.
I mean, no, I mean, I mean, it felt really bad. Like, I don't know, like, there's not much. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I was crushed.
I guess I was crushed. You play games today, Locrian?
Yeah,
What
I
do you
think
play?
so. Was playing League some point recently, but not much anymore. Um, what
Yes.
do I even
So
play?
it's interesting, right? So I guess I was crushed. So it's like if we're playing a game of League of Legends and like we don't say like I guess I was crushed. It's like fuck these noobs. They don't know how to play this game.
No, but that's actually how I am when I'm playing games now.
Really interesting. What's it
Yeah,
like when you play games?
I'm pretty competitive and like I I care a lot about winning and I put a lot of effort into it.
Hold on a second. Now I'm thoroughly confused because you say this is how I am in games. Like, yeah, I guess we got crushed. What you gonna do? Shitty's gonna be
No,
shitty.
that's not how I am. I actually put a lot of
Oh,
effort.
okay. So you turn into a proper sweaty nerd.
Yeah,
Tilt.
yeah.
Irritable.
Yeah, it depends on the day. Like I said, like
We're talking League,
some days,
bro.
some days I'm like immune,
What is that
but
like?
it's nice. It just feels like I don't know.
Are you
Like,
happy when you're immune?
yeah, I think so. Like I'm very, and especially those days, my brain is just working better than usual. Like the brain fog is not, I think, as bad.
Okay. So this is important. There's a difference between happiness and the absence of irritability. Are you on those days? Are we talking like neutral to irritable, or are we talking irritable to happy?
Not irritable to have. Like I'm very, I would say neutral.
Okay. Do you have fun?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? So this is
I mean,
important. I'm not trying to beat you up, and if it feels like I'm beating you up, you got to let me know, okay? Are we doing okay so far?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So like I think it's really important for us to understand whether you're having fun or you don't know, right? So that's like an important signal. Are you capable, or do you have awareness? And I'm not trying to shit on you here because we'll get to that. And not shitting on you, sorry. What I mean is we'll explain why, but this is an important piece of information, right? So are you even to a certain degree numb to your enjoyment? Like, are you aware that you're having fun?
I think there are definitely moments, or like, yeah, there are definitely moments in when I'm playing games that I definitely recognize, yeah, I am having fun.
Are there days of your life where you're like, man, life is fucking awesome. Like, this is fucking great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about those days.
I don't know. Things just I don't know, just going my way, or like my it's just so complicated. It's just so complicated. Like, I guess so. Like, the question is like, is it because of something externally that happened to me that's just good, or things, or like maybe a string of things that happened that are good? I think that's probably at least part of it
Can you give
in
us an
combination.
example? When was the last time you had a great day?
Oh God, the, the first thing that my mind goes to is like work. When I solve a problem or something, and then I think I'm good, but like that's so like boring, I guess. Or it's like sad to think about from like the outside perspective.
Yeah.
Mind goes to that.
So now we get to some fun stuff, Locrian. When you realize something about your life that is sad from the outside perspective, and this may be hard for you to answer because there's a bunch of fucking hypotheticals. So when you notice something about your life and then you look at it from the outside and you're like, that sounds boring. What do you do then? What does your mind do?
Historically, I've always thought I always want to like make it better somehow, or like, oh, I got to start doing this. I got to start doing that. Um, yeah.
And what kind of things do you need to start doing?
I mean, now I don't know where my mind will go, but in the past, it was like, oh, I gotta start doing social clubs at university, or I gotta, I don't know. Like, I mean, definitely, I mean, not directly related to this, but I guess, oh, I need to go to the gym and stuff like that, or I
Okay.
want to lose 30 pounds or something.
And that's when you're feeling good about yourself, is the kind of thoughts you have? Like, so when you have a good day at work and you're like, wow, that sounds kind of boring. Like, wow,
Oh, no, no.
no, this is when you're feeling bad about yourself.
Yeah.
And then what's it like to go to a social club or go to the gym? What's your experience of that?
I
Or
mean, I enjoy the gym. I'm just, so for the gym, I enjoyed, I pretty consistently went for like 2 years and stuff. I just didn't make a lot of progress, and I realized I'm just like fatigued all the time. So like it's hard to keep making progress. Um, and so, but social related stuff is kind of a nightmare. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a nightmare. Um,
I don't know what the phrase kind of a nightmare means.
I,
Can you
yeah,
help me understand that?
because it's not always, so it's either a nightmare or it's fine.
Okay. So talk us through a nightmare. We doing okay, Locrian? Are you feeling judged or
Yeah,
silly or okay?
yeah, yeah. Um,
Like I think you're great,
so,
bro. Let's just look at things as they are. No judgment from my end.
yeah,
So what is that when things are a nightmare? What does that mean?
I think that, so there are times I've put myself into, I've, put myself out there or whatever for socializing or whatever. And often in the past, maybe this was started like 6 years ago to like 4 years ago during university, I was like trying to put myself out there, and it would end up not great because I would feel just social rejection in some way, and it would kind of reinforce what I was feeling, and it kind of just made it worse.
Can you give me an example of putting yourself out there and like what the sequence of events was? Like let's say we're doing a replay analysis. What would we see?
I would say a clear example is I did an internship, and it was on paper it was great. I mean, it was great. Thinking back, it was I do still have fond memories of that time. This was post psychosomatic symptoms or whatever, and depression stuff or whatever. And I so it was a so this tech internship, they housed us, and there was, I don't remember how many other interns, maybe like 50 or 60 or something. We basically were housed in like I had like three roommates. I had my own room, and there was a lot of it was just, it was socially, it was great because they spoil interns. And so like it was basically like there was a lot of partying and stuff like that. Me, um, I feel like I realized to do well in group settings, but I couldn't really like make connections with people. Um, like I struggled to like, yeah, like no, like I was good in group settings, but I didn't actually make friends, I think. Like there was no one I could sit one on one with and just really like
Wh-
connect with.
What would happen? What would the signals of social rejection look like? Do you remember?
Um, I'm trying to think. I mean, it was, I think the first thing that comes to mind is not being included in stuff, but I was included in stuff like early on. Um, Maybe it
All
was a
right.
lot of small things like
It's okay.
talking to people. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. So,
Okay.
can I ask? So you don't have to answer this, and we don't need to go into detail. But what are you working on in therapy?
I kind of stopped going to therapy
Okay,
because
what are you working on?
so okay, so my therapist last year, we were talking about like why I'm not, or yeah, like I was talking about I'm not interested. I don't think I'm maybe interested in people, and my, I guess, inadequacies and stuff like that, or like just self-esteem, stuff like that. She was trying to put a label on me. I guess it was part of her job, but I found it kind of annoying. She really insisted on, yeah, putting a label on me, basically.
Like, what is it? Oh, okay, like she wanted
Like,
to give you a diagnosis. Okay,
yeah,
so it sounds like her goal and your goal were not very aligned. Like you wanted to focus on particular problems.
yeah, I would
Okay,
say so.
okay, okay. And so presumably we were going to talk about dating. So do you want to talk
I
a
mean,
little bit about that?
we can, yeah.
Yeah, let's hear about it. We're
So,
how you
yeah,
feeling? You doing okay?
yeah. It's just there's
Can,
just so much, like so little time. I don't know.
can I share with you what my experience of this conversation is like?
Okay, sure.
I think it's great, man. I think you're awesome. And I
Thank
think
you.
that you have a lot of challenges. I think I see, so my impression of you is that I get the sense that you have very, very powerful forces that are dictating things in your life that you're completely unaware of. Like, I get the sense that when you try to do something, something comes and like really powerfully fucks it up. And the weird thing is that it's not like so simple as I'm depressed, or it's not so simple as I have psychosomatic problems. It's not so simple as like I don't know how to make friends. It's not so simple because like, you do have bright points, right? So you're able to do excel at work, which I'm sure, by the way, your big tech company is thrilled with, because they love nothing more than have someone who has an empty life outside of work and derives their only source of joy and pleasure and satisfaction from work. So their hiring processes are spot on. You sound somewhat capable. You sound super confused. Like you don't know what the fuck is going on in your life. Like you don't know like why things are happening. You don't know like you've tried to, I guess you're pretty smart, right? So you have a job at a big tech company. You never had to do math homework, right? Which I think is telling. And so you're quite calculative. Like you're good at like making calculations and trying to tease things apart. A lot of self-understanding. But I get the sense that there are a couple like big blind spots. Like you just don't know why these physical symptoms happen. Even the way that you talk about them, you're like, okay, this thing was triggered by stress, but now it's continued for 6 years and the stress is resolved. It's not cookie cutter. It's not like, oh, like he had a traumatic breakup and now he's fucked for the rest of his life. He needs to heal on the inside, right? And you're like, no, like I kind of got over it. I cried in the shower and then I was fine. And my ex is now getting married and I'm kind of happy for her. Like I'm not actually hung up on her. Like I think what's really confusing is that a lot of the standard answers don't seem to apply to you. What do you think?
What do you mean by that? Like standard answers?
Like, oh, he's traumatized from his relationship, right? Or like there was abuse growing up, or like this or that, or like he's like, oh, he's got ADHD. Actually, I stopped Adderall in the 10th grade, and it wasn't that big of a deal. So
yeah, that's what my therapist would try to do, and I was arguing with her that is not the case. It's and all of this has resulted in me realizing I'm just a very, very complicated person, and I don't know. I wish I wasn't. I wish I wasn't, but it's just it's complicated.
Yeah. So what the way that I understand that complicated, I don't disagree, but I think that what complicates the equation is there are a couple of variables that I don't think we have good insight into. Right. So if I like have some math equation that is like A plus B plus C equals 14, there's no way to solve it. Like there's just too many blind spots. And so the standard stuff like ADHD, if we slot in ADHD, doesn't work. It doesn't explain everything. If we slot in hung up on your 21-year-old girlfriend, doesn't slot in, right? So it seems like any of the standard answers do not give us the answer on the other side. There's too many. It's weird. Does that make sense? Does that feel right to you?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about dating.
Okay.
Tell me about dating.
Okay. Well, let me make sure. Can I bring up my own camera? I want to make sure there's nothing showing in the background. Okay. I think I'm good. We should. Prescription med.
Okay.
Okay. How do I pull up my? Okay, there we go. So yeah, that was my first girlfriend at 21. That was my first like anything. My first everything, I guess. And it did feel like I was behind the curve a bit. I stopped dating until I turned 25, and when I was 25, I moved out to big city. And so then I started, going on dating apps. And I was completely aware of what I was getting into.
What does that mean? Completely, what were you getting into?
Well, I mean, I just knew that, I mean, it's pretty rough. I knew not to get like too attached or too like emotionally invested. Like if someone like unmatches me for no reason, then like whatever. But I think, yeah. So I had like some like casual stuff, or like I mean, I don't know. I need to be like very clear on what I'm trying to say. So what I did have some like not really relationships. There were women that so I mostly got nothing as a standard for the dating app experience. But the few that were interested, I think once again, I wanted, like, I don't know, like I liked hanging out with them, and I liked all the things involved in being in a relationship, but I didn't want to just dedicate myself to just them. Like, or I couldn't, I couldn't be like in a relationship, being like only, I don't know. Basically, I didn't like them enough to be in a relationship with them, but I did like them enough to hang out with them, do casual stuff, and that really confused them. And of course, I would feel really bad saying like, yeah, I don't want to commit, or I don't
Were,
want
I
to.
mean, were you interested in a platonic relationship with them?
I guess like friends with benefits and stuff like that.
Okay.
But like, like eating out at restaurants and stuff like that too. So like it's so confusing to women, I think, because it's like, okay, you're doing all this boyfriend stuff, but you don't want to be my boyfriend. I don't
Okay.
get it.
So, and what would you communicate to them?
I was very, very clear that this is casual.
Okay.
Casual.
What does that mean?
I think it's all bullshit. I think casual, like, these days it's like a meme where there's just situationships. It's a situationship.
Okay.
Um,
So is that what you were? So is that what you were looking for, or that's just with the people that you ended up matching with? There wasn't enough of a spark to make it a worthwhile relationship.
I think so. I think it's the latter. I think I like at this point I don't really know what I want from an action, because I think I always imagined there was a woman who would really sweep me off my feet or whatever. But anyone I knew like that just didn't really like me back, and it's been like a while since I felt that way about someone. So I think yeah, it's usually just like, I just wanted to, I wasn't that into them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Logan, what do you think needs to? What do you want to change in your life, if anything? Like, what are you looking for? What would help look like? What would you? Where would you like to be at the end of our conversation today? In 6 months, a year, whatever. You can pick whatever timeline. What needs to change?
But I think in an end goal, it, I mean, as an end goal, I mean, I'd like to have like a partner, I think. So I say I think because I've spent so long trying to get validation at this point that I don't even know what I want out of a relationship, I think. Or I don't know, I'm not familiar enough with like love or whatever to
Okay.
like to say like, yeah, that's a person I want to like marry or something.
So, what would you like to like? If I could wave a magic wand and bring you one step closer to your goal, what would the magic wand do?
One step closer,
Yeah. If I could just like push you 10% of the way there with a wave of a magic wand, what would 10% of the way there look like?
we might need like 50%. uh 10%. I don't, I guess so, like,
What would
better,
50% look like?
I guess my yeah, my like I'd have fewer symptoms, like my brain fog might be better and stuff like that. But since that's a little difficult, so like I guess like being less sensitive to like social rejection and stuff like that. Um,
Okay. All right. A couple more. Do you have any questions for me so far?
um, No, not right now.
Not right now. Okay. Um, and tell me a little bit more about tell me about your dad. So it sounds like your mom started working when you were in the fourth grade, so she wasn't around as much.
My dad wasn't like super involved in like I mean I don't mean that he was like we were like divorced they were like divorced or
Yeah.
anything. I mean like he wasn't like an involved parent. I mean he would just do work stuff and then he'd come home and didn't really care that we played video games, stuff like that. But my mom didn't want us to play during the weekday. Um, but she'd come home at like 11, so we didn't really she wasn't there to enforce anything.
Did you go to birthday parties?
It's a specific question. Yeah,
Like how many birthday parties would you go to in a year? When you were like 10?
hmm. Um, yeah, at least like three.
Okay. Did you have your own birthday party?
Some years, yeah. It wasn't like every year, but
Okay. Is it something that you looked forward to?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said us, so it sounds like you've got at least one sibling.
Us. Yeah.
And how are they doing?
He's I think he's doing well. He's also a fan of the stream, so I don't know.
Okay.
Like maybe be seeing this later, but
Does he have difficulty in relationships too?
kinda. I mean, he's more standard, socially anxious,
Okay.
like anxious.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, it's different. He doesn't
And
have what I
you
have.
don't have to answer this, but I'm just going to. So if there is a case of some kind of mental health struggle for either of your parents, that can be one piece of the puzzle. You don't have to answer that. We don't have to go into it, but I'll explain it a little bit later. If you, yeah, well, let's not talk about that specifically, but I think it could be relevant. So, can I think for a second?
Hmm?
Can I think for a second? Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna need a long second here. Okay. So you mentioned that you have all these symptoms like eczema, restless leg, and you've seen a ton of doctors. Like, what's the TLDR?
Um, Pretty healthy.
Okay.
I mean, I think like I don't know, going to an allergy doctor, like there's not much they can do. There's just like, oh, let's test your skin. Oh, by the way, it's like barely accurate. There's
Okay.
no food tolerance test. They said to make a food journal. 2023, I kept a food journal. Alcohol triggers me for sure. But like that's about it. And so other like I was tested for autoimmune diseases and it was fine. My vitamins are
So
fine.
basically, like nothing significant in terms of medical diagnosis or treatment. Like they weren't able to find anything that explains this stuff.
I mean, I do have sleep apnea, maybe like mild. And so that's a very recent development. I got a CPAP.
Do you use it?
Yeah, it's hard to adjust to.
Certainly,
I realize it takes some time, but like I
it's really hard.
swear, I think my brain fog has gotten a little better. Maybe it's
Yeah.
placebo. I don't know. But if that's explaining my brain fog, at least that part, yeah. So
Okay.
I think the closest thing I've come to is that my stress and mental health really affects my sleep, which um which makes me have brain fog and some other symptoms. But that's I don't know.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Couple other. I'm gonna like we're going into the lightning round here, so these are gonna be random ass questions that come out of nowhere. Okay. Look, Green. Are you selfish?
I think so.
Tell me about
I
that.
think I think I'm selfish because I feel like I have to be.
Tell me.
Um, I mean, so in the context, I'm selfish in the way that I'm very, very concerned about the self. But I'm not selfish in the sense that I am really, really concerned about other people's well-being around me. Like if I'm being too loud, I don't want to disturb people. I'm pretty considerate in that way, and I don't like making people feel bad. But I am selfish in the way that I am always thinking about myself. At a social event, I'm often just thinking about myself and how I perceive. It's like the whole self-awareness thing. It's like it's not a always thinking about yourself. It's a crutch. But that's me. That's it's annoying having to always think about how you're being perceived by other people.
Who's responsible for getting your needs met?
My needs met. What needs are we talking about?
What needs do you have?
Food, sleep. Where in the hierarchy are we talking about? Like
Whichever, what, all of them. Who's responsible for them?
me?
Okay. How long has that been true?
Um, Pretty much always, except for, when my family provided for me.
Sure. Do your parents know that you're struggling right now?
Yeah, yeah. My mom's always just like, oh, you need to, I don't know. She like doesn't, she finds it, she's just like, oh, you just need to relax and just watch a TV show, stuff like that. But
How does it feel when she says that?
I just tell, I mean, I have no shame in telling my mom that she's wrong about a lot of things. So,
And when you tell her she's wrong, what happens?
and she's just like, whatever. I don't know. She's not, yeah. But she'll keep saying it like, oh, you just need to, just relax and whatever.
What's that like for you?
It, I mean, it used to bother me more. It's like, it's whatever. Like, she just doesn't get it.
Why don't
It's
you get
fine.
bothered by it anymore?
Well, like when I first got my symptoms, like no one in my family really understood.
Do they
That was,
understand now?
I think so. Um, but I don't get bothered by it anymore because I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just come to accept that my parents, I go by the principle that my parents don't really know anything. They know how things worked in their country when they grew up, but they don't know how it works here. And so I'm usually right. And it's just kind of how it ends up being. And I could give examples of that, but yeah.
What does it feel like to have parents who don't know as much as you do and you're usually right?
I mean, I guess I have no sense of, I guess like it does, I guess pride. Do people have pride in their families? Is that a thing? Like, I guess I don't really, I mean, it's not like like my family is just kind of, or like, my parents, they were just kind of there.
Okay.
Uh, I
Can you
think
tell
now,
me
I mean,
what general region of the world your family's from? We have to go into
Middle,
specific. Huh?
Middle East,
Okay.
Iranian.
Okay. All right. I have some ideas about what's going on with you and a couple of general principles. Has anything floated to the surface? Does anything seem significant to you about what we've talked about?
I mean, it isn't, I mean, I've never noticed about speaking in a neutral tone, but that's about it. Um, Anything? Yeah, not really so far.
Okay. Can I think for a second?
Sure.
This is going to be like a minute, okay? Not like a second. So let me ask you something, Locrian. If I were to say, I have figured you out, this is what it is. It's Dr. K, okay? It's not your average therapist. How would you respond to that? Oh, I can't hear you. Can we hear you?
I would say I'm anxious to hear a response.
What do you think your emotional response would be to that?
I guess I just want to hear it.
Okay.
Is that an emotion? Looking forward to it.
Do you think there's a part of you that would be upset?
Possibly. I just felt, as soon as you said that, there's a pit in my stomach.
What's the pit?
Some sort of diagnosis.
Okay. We're not going to do that, right?
No, but like, yeah, I don't know. Or like something that I can't control. That would be.
Do you think I understand enough about your life to tell you anything that could be helpful?
I don't know. I have no. I'm hoping you just have magic words. I don't know.
Okay, that's scary. So now I gotta be magical. So I actually need that magic wand. Is that what it's gonna take? What are you feeling now?
I don't know. Mixed emotions. I don't know what to.
Good. Mixed emotions. So what is it? What are they? Let's go through them. Let's figure it out.
Well, it's a mix of just, I want to hear what you had to say, and then I don't know. What if you're going to say I'm autistic or something?
Okay. And if I told you were autistic, how would you respond to that?
I don't know.
Okay. So I think I'm getting a lot of turbulence. And if you go back and you watch the interview, like you can just see it in even like there's spinning around this way and that way, and there's this and there's this. And so there's a lot going on. It's hard for you to see what's going on, right? You just feel like there's a lot in there. And so you kind of want the answer. We're not sure exactly what you're going to do with it. We're not sure if there is one. But I'm noticing a lot of like emotional energy. Okay. So I'm going to need another minute, okay? I was just seeing. Okay, so. Okay, one other question. This is going to be the hardest one. You ready? What is the biggest smile you can give us?
I don't want to do that.
Tell me what makes it hard for you to do that? It's an interesting question, no?
It just. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just.
So don't worry about it. You don't have to smile, right? It's interesting. Did you think that would be really hard for you?
I think I've always known that'd be hard for me. I've been generally aware of that.
Yeah. So how do you think I know it's hard for you?
That is the biggest smile I could give you, but it's genuine. I don't know.
So now I want you to use your big tech brain, okay? It doesn't need to do math homework brain. What do you think it's like for someone to go through life and like not be able to smile real big? Like, what do you imagine that person's life is like? Well, they can't smile.
I don't know. Probably sucks.
Probably sucks. I, I think it probably sucks quite a bit, no?
Yeah, I think so.
Does your life suck quite a bit?
On paper, it doesn't. Well, socially, I guess in theory it does.
There's the conflict, right? So when I ask that question, your mind does two things. Do you see that it's doing two things, not one thing? You don't have one answer. You have one answer. You have a reaction to that answer. You have an authentic answer. You argue against yourself. You see how that happens? Fast. We'll try again,
Yeah.
and this time I want you to articulate your thoughts. No thinking on the inside, Locrian. Not allowed.
I can't think.
No thinking on the outside. You can speak, but we need to hear your thoughts. Okay. Does your life suck?
It doesn't in the way that I'm financially pretty. I'm
Yeah.
completely fine, and I have no stress in that way. I mean, I'm stressed about work sometimes, but socially thinking about you if I explain to someone that I have no friends in the city that I'm in, I'm not dating anyone. I have online friends. All of my friends are from high school. They'd think that kind of sucks. Maybe. I mean, I say maybe because I mean I could have a lot of friends, but from high school that wouldn't really suck. But
So I could look at one version of your life, and I use this word on purpose, okay? And I would look at your life and I would think this guy has a life that in some ways is pathetic. How does it feel to hear me say that? Because that's like not a nice thing to say, right? I'm not saying you're pathetic for the, hopefully there's that distinction. I don't think you're pathetic.
I took mushrooms a few months ago. That's the conclusion I came to. No, I'm not. You're absolutely right. Like one of the first emotions that came up was like, this is sad and pathetic.
Is
You're
your
right.
life sad and pathetic?
I guess a little bit, yeah, at least.
A little bit, at least.
Because it's not that. I mean, I think it's cool that I am a successful financially.
Yeah, so we got to work on a couple things here, okay? Okay. I'm debating how much I want to push you on the smile. We'll probably let that slide. We're going to be nice today. Why do you think it's so hard for you to smile big?
I think because like my theory is that
Does it feel like a betrayal if you smile real big? Does it kind of piss you off if you like smile, like if you were like just fucking happy? Does that upset you in some way?
I think I just don't. I mean, I don't like how my smile looks. Plus, like, I don't think it's a betrayal for me to feel happy.
You don't want to smile. Do you get that? Like I asked you, what's the biggest smile you can show us? And you're like, I don't want to do that. Right? So it's a part of you that's kind of crusty. It's like, nah, nah. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm just sharing with you what I'm seeing, feeling.
I think I can't really express myself freely is I think primarily why. Um, I think I am okay. Like being happy or like smiling in like a social situation is for me a good thing because
Okay.
it's more interesting talking to someone who's smiling. I guess I don't know.
So
Son of
if I smiled real big for you or with you, would you be able to smile real big?
um, I mean, like involuntarily, sure.
But you don't want to.
And to have the focus being on me smiling, yeah, I don't want to.
Is it because it's the focus? Like you would feel
Think
like too
so,
much
because
like you're in a fucking zoo and on display?
not like that, but I just mean like I mean even if it was like between my friends or something or like in a social situation, then like um yeah, I guess it kind of
Okay. So let's understand a couple things. All right. So I'm going to start talking. You can tell me to go fuck myself at any point. I think that there's a lot of signals here that I think are very important to understand. We don't really know what of this applies to you, but I'm going to kind of explain a couple of general principles which I think apply to a lot of people. So the first is, how much do you know about attachment theory? Logreen, have you ever heard of this?
I'm familiar with it. I think I'm anxious attachment.
Okay. What's your understanding of what attachment theory is?
I think it's just how you express not how you express, but yeah, how you express like okay, specifically like I know anxious attachment is like if someone isn't reassuring you or isn't with you or some stuff like that, you get anxious, something like that. And then secure attachment is you're just fine without them.
Do you get anxious when people don't talk to you? Are you worried that people are going to break up with you? Are you like clingy?
Oh yeah,
Really?
1,000,000%. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we got that from the dumpy girlfriend, friends with benefits.
Well, that's because I've never. So I've had that with friendships and like random social. The thing is, I've never been with a girl that I was truly really into. That's so. But if that did happen, I suspect that might happen.
That ain't anxious attachment, bro. But okay, so we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so let's understand a couple basic things. Okay, so maybe it is. Who knows? There's all kinds of different ways that you can really understand what kind of attachment someone has. We don't have enough information. I'm not going to label you with one kind of attachment or another. But let's understand a couple of basics from attachment theory. So one of the things that I notice about you is that you're emotionally some degree of blind spot, some degree of conflicted, some degree of numb. So the first thing is you have this very kind of like constrained expression of things. Like, do people have pride in their family? Like, that's such a basic question that you seem to not have an answer to. Right? And I'm not trying to put you down for that. I just want you to think about, like most people grow up understanding that their parents are proud of them, and we have pride for our parents, we have pride for our siblings. We are taught how to have pride in our family. But what I'm hearing about your upbringing, so a lot of what we learn about emotions, this is like attachment theory kind of 101 and just what we know about. So you seem to have blind spots when it comes to emotions. There's a lot of conflicting emotions. There's a lot of emotional reaction followed by like logical masturbation to get you out of that emotional space. Like, is your life pathetic? Yes. But you're not allowed to say that because, first of all, it may not feel great. Secondly, you do have things to be grateful for. And so is it absolutely pathetic? Of course not. But does it feel kind of pathetic? Is it kind of sad? Yes. So this is where there's a lot of like confusion, I think, emotionally. So I think that, you seem to, I think you experience, there's a lot of stuff going on inside you that you're not experiencing. So this is the other thing that we really know. So the first thing is that we learn about our internal emotional environment from basically our caregivers. So the way that a child knows how it feels is, interestingly enough, not based on its own experience, but on the reflections of others. Okay? So I don't know if you've seen this, but if a child is running and playing, let's say there's like a 2-year-old who's like running and playing and trips and falls. What you'll notice is that for like a half second, the kid doesn't know whether they're hurt or not. And then what they'll do is they'll look around and they'll see you're nodding along. Tell me what.
Kid looks around to see if their parent comes to reassure them.
Absolutely, right? So is my parent like, oh my God, my little baby fell down. Oh no. And then the kid will start doing what? If the parent is concerned, what will the kid do?
Start crying.
Absolutely. And if all the parents are laughing, ha ha ha, little baby, look at how fast you are, what will the kid do?
Start laughing.
Absolutely. So when you were going through stuff in the 2nd grade, the 3rd grade, the 4th grade, what kind of emotional response did you get from your parents?
Nothing.
Nothing. So this is what we got to understand, right? So to understand our internal emotions, we need to see other people reflect our emotions. Right? Now we get to something like really, really simple, right? So what do you want more than anything else? Validation. What does that mean? You want to send something out into the world, and the world sends you what back?
Nothing.
Well, that's what it does now. But what do you want? Right? You want it to...
Yeah. Everything.
I want the world to tell me, so when you're like talking to your therapist, hey, my life is hard. What's she sending back?
What is she sending back?
Yeah.
It's not as validating as I would want it to be.
So she's sending back a label.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, hey, I have all this complex shit going on. Like I'm struggling with dating. I want to work on my self-esteem. And she's like, let's discover if you're autistic or not.
Yeah.
When you go to your doctors and you're like, hey, I have eczema, I have restless leg, I have this, I have this, I have this. What do you get back?
That need to go up on my meds.
Okay. How does that feel?
I mean, it just sucks not knowing the answer. But it is kind of invalidating, I guess. I don't know.
Right? So they don't know the answer. They're just going, fuck, I don't know what's wrong with you. Let's just increase the medication. Yeah. Very invalidating. Right? And now we can see like all kinds of other like potential signals here, which is like you have trouble forming connections with people. So, I think that's like troubling for a couple reasons. One is that I think it's hard for you to form We'll get to that in a little bit, but I think part of it is that, it's hard for you to send stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't send stuff out there because you're scared. And then if you can't send stuff out there, like they don't really get to know you. And I don't know if anyone who's watching is paying attention can follow along, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Like if you send stuff out there, like you can't afford to send stuff out there, so you can't form a connection because you can't really send something out there. And I mean, here you are kind of saying that you have avoidant attachment and that you've been clingy with friends and stuff, which I mean, we haven't talked about that, and you know more than I do, and you've been in therapy, and I have no idea. On the flip side, I noticed that it's like it's pretty easy for you to maintain situationships, right? So I
mean, yeah, with a very niche set of women, but yeah.
Right. So I think that almost like, I wonder if that feels like, does that feel safe to you?
Safe in what way? Yeah, I
we don't have to fit a square peg into it. If it doesn't resonate, that's okay. Just it's like kind of like a limbic response, like, because like what I was kind of thinking about is you're not going to get hurt in that relationship because you're just not that into her.
No, I wouldn't say that's the case.
Okay. Okay. So first thing is just understanding that there's like your internal experience of your emotions is to a certain degree like clouded, let's say, certain degree conflicted. And then the third thing that we've got going on potentially is that you tend to tone things down, right? So we notice that about your language, which is like, it's kind of a nightmare. So you do this very specific thing where you offer a really extreme word and then you like soften it. So it's like kind of like you did that a lot where you weren't, and then a lot of times there's like, I don't knows, there's like, I'm not sure, like, there's all kinds of like internal like toning down and internal responses. So we don't get a straight response to you. Sometimes you have a powerful, I think, emotional reaction, which you then adaptively tone down. Right? So I cried in the shower and then it was fine. That may have actually been fine. I think that was one of the better experiences in your life. But I think for a lot of things, it's not like that. Like, it's like you feel actually quite powerful, but you don't, like, there's a powerful emotion, but you adaptively turn it down. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with you?
To an extent, yeah.
Okay. So I think there's some amount of like numbness. And then there's also this kind of logical confusion of like, I don't think you accept your own emotions. So that's the other big thing, is that you haven't been taught how, because other people haven't accepted them. So now when you're like, yeah, is my life kind of pathetic? Yeah. But, you know, it's hard to smile. Yeah, but there's a lot of like, yeah, but. So that's like your logical mind and your emotional mind like going at it. How does that sound to you? Does that resonate? Not resonate?
It doesn't completely resonate.
Absolutely.
I will, yeah.
So I think there's way more. So I'm not offering you an answer. I think this is a piece of a puzzle.
Okay, I'm having like mild brain fog. So
That's
I'm
okay.
like forgetting what you said.
That's okay. Right. So that too has a time and place, and I think there's a potential reason why your brain fog is emerging now, which I don't think is so. Remember, I asked you, like, if I gave you an answer, what would be your response? Do you remember when I asked you that question?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's okay. Okay. So there's some amount. What's the best way to deal with the brain fog? Do you have a sense?
Get as much sleep as possible.
Okay. So it looks like that's you want to take a quick nap and then resume, or what?
No, I mean, nothing really. Like, I mean, I think it's fine.
Okay. So let's explain a couple other principles. Let's just forget about that for a second.
Yeah.
So the next thing to understand is anytime we have emotions that are not dealt with. So that can be processed internally, that can be validated, right? So there's a lack of validation in your upbringing and your social connections, etc. The other thing that we sort of know from science is that these emotions will manifest in the body. So this is where, like, it's really tricky. I don't think that this is all in your head. I think that's a very incorrect way of understanding these symptoms. At the same time, we know that there are clinical trials on things like fibromyalgia, which show that as people start dealing with their emotions, the fibromyalgia improves. I don't think that this is all in their head. I think now we've elucidated something called psychoneuroimmunology, which is this like field of study where the way we feel mentally triggers certain physical changes. So changes in our, so when we feel mentally stressed, we release cortisol. Cortisol causes demarginalization of white blood cells, which basically means it puts our immune system on high alert. When our immune system is on high alert and there's nothing to fight against, it starts attacking ourselves. So it's like we've pulled the pin out of the grenade and we're like looking around for where to throw it, and then it just explodes in our hands. So this is like what happens to our immune system when we get stressed out.
Yeah.
So this correlates with like emotional numbness because one of the ways that you can mentally de-stress is to deal with your emotions. Does that make sense? Now, the
Yeah.
challenge is I don't know that you know what you're feeling or you invalidate your own emotions so you can't actually deal with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I I think I was under the impression I at least mostly understood my emotions. Like I'm not like what is it, alexithymic or whatever. Uh
I think you have a lot going on emotionally that you I think the challenge is that you understand a slice of your emotions incredibly well.
yeah,
So I
probably.
don't think you're like uniformly numb. I think that's what's so tricky about this is there's a lot of different pieces here. But I think that you're what do you think? I mean, do you think there could be emotions going on that you don't
I mean there must be. I think I don't know. I explored that when I saw your video on psychosomatic illness, and then I also read part of a book from Carl Jung, and it was talking about like how like a person who's like stressed or something will like cough. I'm like, is that really? I didn't know about psychosomatic illness, and then I saw your video, and then I was like, okay, I'll go to therapy. I'll try shrooms. Uh,
so this is the other weird. So now we're going to get to one other area, which is like your relationships. I think it's hard for you to form connections because I don't know if you know what you're feeling, and I think it's really hard for you to show us the best parts of you. Like, do you get that? Like, you're hiding, you're sneaky. Like, we see these little smiles, right? So tell me about shrooms, Lokrin.
about shrooms.
Yeah.
Uh,
First of all, do you want to talk about it?
yeah, yeah. Um, the last time I did, the first time I took 2 grams, like several months ago, I was on 5 milligrams of Lexapro, and I was fine. It was a good experience. It didn't feel bad. The next time I took it, I was on a slightly like 2.5. I was trying to taper off, and then I took 2 grams again, and uh, yeah, those thoughts of like it was just immense sadness, um, which was really confusing because like I didn't think. The reason I took it actually was because I woke up from a dream where I felt like everyone hated me, and I didn't know why. Everyone was just like tired of me. Um, and then so I woke up and I was like, I guess there's some internal stuff going on. So I took shrooms, and then I just felt it was just really, really, really sad. I wrote stuff down, and I was convinced I was dying of like some disease. Um, and I felt like I was being mocked by the the fungal, the universe because I was dying.
No crossing your arms.
Okay, you're right.
So, how does it feel to tell us this story?
Uh, it does feel I feel a bit exposed.
Yeah. So, let's see how, pay attention to that feeling, okay? Bro, that sounds wild. So, first of all, sounds like you had some dream and like you felt really mocked. Maybe there's something like deep going on in your subconscious and you chose to explore it and you had this wild experience that wasn't necessarily positive, but it seemed very like eye-opening, like you really like understood something about yourself. It also had some wild shit like where you thought the shrooms were like mocking you, right? So like you recognize that was a little bit crazy, but like sounds like quite the trip.
Yeah, I don't even think of like I don't consider it a bad trip,
Yeah.
but I did, but it was a lot of just negative emotion for
Yeah,
sure.
but it sounds like you really uncovered a lot. Like it sounded like it was pretty intense.
Um, well, I wouldn't consider it like it wasn't like it was more like maybe cathartic.
Yeah.
Less so like it's not like I learned about myself. Like it was more like, wow, this is fucking pathetic. Everything's pathetic. And um it was mainly, yeah, just that, but it wasn't like, oh man, I realized who I truly am now. It was just like emotionally cathartic, I think. And I swear, maybe I'm crazy, but I swear I like usually I get eczema in the shower. Like my skin will start itching. I didn't feel that after. I mean, I don't know.
What what's going on there?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I do. I do.
There's the
No
arms
problem.
again. Let's keep going.
But the thing is, it's not
Don't argue against yourself. Just speak. Speak. Speak what you
okay.
know.
I want it to be an answer that I could just take shrooms and everything will be fine. But it's just not really an answer. Like so, it's emotional. Okay, probably.
Talk to me about the shower. What do you think happened? Tell me about the shower. So you went in the shower and you didn't get eczema, which you're right. So it can usually be triggered by heat. So heat-induced eczema is very common. So
Yeah,
heat triggers
specifically
degranulation of mast cells. Yes. So, but you
specific.
didn't have it this time. Tell me why. Suddenly your mast cells were like, we're fucking taking the day off? No.
I do want to. Sorry. I do want to mention one of the random symptoms is cold. I guess it's called cold urticaria or
Yeah,
something.
sure.
When I hold a cold drink, my skin will start to itch really bad,
Yeah.
and that started after everything. And then so same with the shower. So yeah. So with the shower, yeah, like I felt like the thing is I was anticipating like what, I feel like I won't get itchy or I feel like I'm not feeling like something about my skin feels different
What
and it
felt
feels
different?
I don't know, I just felt normal or like relaxed or like
Holy shit, that's wild, man.
I I don't want to I don't want to make it seem like suddenly everything was just went away, but it was more it
No,
was just like something was different. Something was
you
different.
could feel it
Yeah,
in your body.
I think so.
How does it feel to say that?
I mean, it feels like I'm saying like the answer like is very clear.
I'll tell you. It feels fucking dumb,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you understand that?
I don't think it's I don't think it's that dumb just because I know I'm aware of psychosomatic illness and stuff like that. But
We're not saying it is dumb. I don't think it's
yeah,
dumb at
yeah,
all. But it feels dumb. It feels foolish. It's not that simple.
yeah, I don't think it's that simple. Or
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. What do you think? What just happened? What do we just do? Look, what the fuck is this? What are we doing now? What is this?
I don't know.
How do you feel?
Um, I don't know. I feel like there's like I'm like weighed down emotionally right now.
Weighed down, meaning like you're not able to express positive emotion? Or do
Or
you just
just
feel
like
like there's a lot of emotion you're experiencing right now and you're not quite sure what it is?
I did feel a lot of emotion. And now right now it's less, but like there's a constant like it's like emotional gravity.
Yeah. So there's a lot of emotion that is weighing you down.
I think so, I
Yeah.
guess.
Is this unusual for you to feel this way?
I think so.
Yeah. So how do you think it is that we're feeling actually, I think it's going to be hard for you to answer that. Any questions for me, or can I offer some thoughts?
I can offer some thoughts.
Okay. So I think the reason I'm going to slow down on the questions is I get the sense that you're cognitively spent. I think this is like your
I think we can keep going.
I know I'm going to do the heavy lifting now. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Does that seem okay to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you want me to keep you asking you like more questions, or you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm good with still going. Or
Yeah, we'll continue, but can I? Do you
Yeah,
want to
no,
explore more, or
I can do like thinking and stuff.
you? I'm sorry, you can do thinking and stuff.
I'm saying like you're saying you're doing to do the heavy lifting. I can do some heavy lifting too.
Okay,
I'm not
so you're
emotional.
not done yet. I didn't hear
Yes.
no bell.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me think about that. Do you feel like you've done? Do you feel unsatisfied with the lifting that you've done so far?
Yeah.
There we go. So does it make you feel guilty to have me start doing the lifting?
Maybe not guilty, but I just want to push through. I want to, what's the word? Thug it out.
You want to thug it out. You don't want to let us down. You don't want to quit.
Yeah.
You want to power forward. You don't need no one to carry your bitch ass.
No.
So that's guilt.
Is it?
What else would you call it?
I was gonna look it up in the dictionary just now.
Right. So this is also where it's like weird, right? So it's like, it's not eye-opening, it's cathartic. Right. So you'll use these terms. And so this is what I mean. I think that there's a lot of like emotional, there's like a poor emotional vocabulary, which I think you've got, because I think it's brilliant because you don't know these words. No one's ever taught you this shit. And you're coming up with your own vernacular. Right. So
Guilt? I mean, I guess I'm confused how it is guilt, I guess.
yeah. So I get the sense that if I start lifting, you will feel like you're not doing your part.
And there can be like inaccuracies and stuff like that. Like,
Sure. Right. So I don't think it's anger. I don't think it's sadness. Maybe there's some shame, but I think guilt feels a little bit more correct. I don't think it's curiosity. I don't think it's joy. I don't think it's pride. I don't think it's fear. I don't think it's anxiety. So I think it's in the ballpark of guilt. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Does that track or not really?
No.
Okay, good to know, right? So when I say something that doesn't track for you, how does that feel?
It feels like unresolved or like a chord progression that doesn't resolve.
Yeah. I think this is okay, so let's keep going. You can we'll hopefully tie this in. So let's go back to kind of like, let's understand just not about you, but just anyone in general. So we gain our emotional awareness from the way that our parents interact with us. So once we don't know exactly what we're feeling, then it becomes hard to kind of live life. And we end up in this very like conflicted environment of like, I'm lonely, so I'm going to move in a particular direction, but it's way too much effort. It's too confusing. It's not worth it to interact with people. I don't know how to connect with people. So then you like retreat back to loneliness. So oftentimes when people feel mixed emotions, what we tend to see is a pattern of like a pendulum where and this is, I think, one thing that you do quite well. So I think you probably do like this math equation in your head. So some people do this. When we feel mixed emotions, what we try to do is like almost logic our way through to get like a greater than or a less than. And then we let one emotion, we say like, okay, like which one of these should I lean into? There's one right answer. But then the problem is that in that moment, that's the right answer. But as your situation changes, the greater than or less than sign flips. And then you go the other way. And then that feels like the right answer. And then over time that changes. So then you flip back and forth and people feel like not paralyzed. They feel like they're not moving anywhere because you're actually moving a lot. It's just you kind of go wishy-washy. Does that resonate with you at all?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's also, there's a branch, like you'll see branching, or I'll think of branching things to say and then jumping between each leaf or whatever.
Yeah.
There's just yeah, I don't know.
There's just a lot of considerations and you try to come up with one answer, but then that answer doesn't stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And this is what leads to your life, I think, being so complicated, right? So if we try to label you, and like even when I try to label you, even in a tiny way, hey man, what you're feeling is guilt. You're like, nah. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. So, I think that kind of emotional cloudedness makes it very hard to form connections with people. Because forming a connection with someone usually involves empathic connection between two people. So like when you and I queue up for a game of League of Legends and we have some noob on our team who doesn't know how to play, and then you and I both rage at them together, that is when we become brothers. Yes. These fucking noobs, man. Fucking noobs. Right? It's not your fault. It's not my fault. We're both like victims together, or we can triumph together. I can't believe we won anyway. So it's shared emotional experience, which I think is very hard for you because like, and even if we talk about like, what's the relationship that you want? What you want is shared emotional experience. What you want is someone who's into you as much as you're into them, which is very normal, by the way. It's not, but I'm not hearing, I think it's very hard. It could be hard for you to form connections because you're not quite sure what you're feeling. And so then like, I don't know, this kind of makes sense, but does it feel to you like, social interactions, there's no spontaneity. It's like a bunch of effort. It's like I have to figure out what to say, what to feel, what's this person feeling, what do I say now? There's no like, I don't get the sense there's spontaneity for you. But it sounds like there's some contrary information there because it does sound like you're able to form friends in band and things like that. You've stayed in touch with your friends with high school. So that's also kind of confusing. What do you think?
I think you're right. There is no spontaneity. That's a good word for it. And I've been envious of people who are very spontaneous emotionally. They say what they're thinking or feeling like immediately.
Yeah. So when you're envious of someone, like what is that like? You logic yourself out of it? Like there's no point in being envious?
No. I fully accept when I'm envious.
Okay.
I just want what they have.
What makes it hard for you to get it?
It's like just things that are out of my control, just how my brain is, or anything that's just about how I am.
Do you think you're pretty fixed?
Some aspects of me, I think, are fixed, but things like traits, or like I'm a pretty sensitive person, I think that's fairly fixed. But what I'm sensitive to is not fixed, I think.
It's very nuanced, right? So not much black and white thinking at all, right? So you really consider a lot of shades of gray, a lot of hypotheticals, a lot of caveats.
I love hypotheticals.
Yeah, I think it shows. So what have you heard me say so far? What are you kind of taking away?
That I'm emotionally confused. And I'm confused about that. I think, yeah, I don't know. I guess I was under the impression I really understood I think there's, sorry, there was one question. There's something someone typed in chat, which is just really funny.
What was it?
I'm not going to say it. Okay.
You just leave us hanging?
Okay. I'm confused about why you're saying
Bro.
I'm emotionally confused. No, I can't say it.
Okay, fine. All right.
I'm confused about why you're saying I'm emotionally confused, because I feel like I'm not, but like I guess I must be, because to like I've always considered myself pretty self-aware, but but no one's fully self-aware, right? It's impossible.
Yeah. So
I must be missing something.
no, I mean, I think it's very understandable for you to be emotionally confused, because on some level, it's like I'm kind of telling you, like, oh, there's an eighth color, and you're like, what? Like, you don't have a frame of reference, so it's very natural to be confused. I think there's 3 or 4 other reasons why you could be confused. One is that I don't think you're like emotionally colorblind. Like, I think you're quite aware of some of your emotions. Right. So, and the reason that I say, I don't know if I'm saying confused is the right word, maybe conflicted is a better word. But I do get the sense that there is a lot of pushback against your own emotions. Maybe that's the best way to put it, which is sometimes it's logical, sometimes it's like numbness, sometimes it's retreat. And so, because you have a lot of things that would make it worthwhile for you to explore this hypothesis, I would say. So one is your upbringing, also like being Middle Eastern, right? So we're not South Asians, Middle Easterns, East Asians. We're not known for being a very emotionally available group of people, right? So we don't talk about emotions. Emotions don't matter. So there's like kind of a risk factor there. There's, I think just hearing about your early experiences, like it doesn't sound like you got a whole lot of emotional mirroring, right? So it sounds like you were kind of left to fend for yourself. And usually when kids are like that, they have difficulty recognizing their own emotions. And then your lack of, it's difficult for you to form connections, which I think makes it, so connections are formed via empathy. Empathy involves emotional resonance. And so if you don't detect your emotions, that could make it hard for you to be empathic. Like, I don't think you're a sociopath or anything like that. There's another kind of interesting thing going on here, which is a lot of like internal hypersensitivity. So the way that you were describing your selfishness is that you're either in your own head or you're in your own body. So I think you probably like, and this is something that we sometimes see where people see when people with anxiety, I'm not saying you have anxiety, we haven't talked about your diagnosis or anything, but when people have a particular kind of anxiety that involves physical symptoms, like let's say nausea or palpitations or things like that, is they start to become more restrictive in their life. Like, I leave the house less. What happens is their symptoms get worse as they stop leaving the house. So if I feel nauseous and I stay home, the nausea will increase because the only signal that I have is the nausea. Whereas if I leave the house and I start engaging with other people, there are other signals that will drown out the nausea better. So there's also a correlation between social isolation and physical discomfort. Now, I'm not saying that this is the source of your eczema or that it's all in your own head. I mean, just from a very mathematical perspective, there is a relationship between externalizing your attention and not feeling particular things in your head or in your body. So the clinical term, not the clinic, it's not used clinically, but the research term is visceral hypersensitivity. And what we know is that people who have a lot of these psychosomatic problems will have a lot of visceral hypersensitivity. So it's not that you're busted or it's all made up. It's that you turn up the volume, or people with visceral hypersensitivity will turn up the volume on internal signals. So that could be a piece too. This all being kind of like a very, I don't think it's like a one size fits all. It's not like you're just, oh, you're autistic and that explains everything. But I do think that there's a lot of emotional, there's a lack of emotional fluency. And this kind of comes back to like, what's the biggest smile you can give us, right? It's just a smile. But there's something within you that is like, Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think what's an interesting thing is a few years ago I was drinking with a friend, the same friend that I used to live with in elementary school, or like we were neighbors. And he was like, he noticed that when I'm drinking, I smile a lot bigger and is very unrestricted. And I thought about it I've thought about it quite a bit since then.
Yeah.
I do respect myself, I think.
Yep. That's where I don't know if it's just straight alexithymia, right? Because that's like color blindness. That's why it's so confusing, is because I think it's just that you don't freely feel emotion, because you have that logic that kicks in, you have that toning down that kicks in. So I think it's almost like more suppressive than colorblind, right? And then once you have that restricted range, then it's hard for you to interact with people. Because then when someone else is excited, like or if I smile like an idiot, are you going to smile like an idiot? Yes or no?
Oh, if you're asking me that,
Yeah.
I mean, I probably will, just like reactively.
Right. And are you going to be happy about it?
I'm thinking I won't think anything about it.
Okay. So I think the challenge that you're going to run into in social situations is that when I smile like an idiot, and you may smile like an idiot reflexively, but you're not all in with me. Then what happens is I detect that in you. And once I detect your reluctance, it deflates me. And once I get deflated, you detect that deflation within me, and then that triggers your desire for social isolation.
I think you're 100% right.
Right? So and this comes back to the question, what are other people's experiences of sitting with you? And I think you leave people hanging, buddy. Because they'll express and you're uncomfortable expressing with them, and then they're like, well, fuck, this guy doesn't think my joke is funny. When you think it's hilarious, you just feel embarrassed to laugh. And then they stop making jokes, and you notice the change because they made that first joke and they were totally into it, and now you detect it because you're fucking observant and you're smart. And you detect that calculation, and then you interpret it in this particular way, and then you're like, nah, I fucked it up again. They don't like me. And then you retreat. Which is interesting because you did fuck it up. Just not in the way that you think.
I have thought about that. Like, I have a friend who he's very emotionally spontaneous. He tells a lot of jokes. He's a pretty funny guy, but when he tells a joke and I don't think it's funny, or like I only think it's mildly funny, I don't give him the positive reinforcement that he's looking for. And I think about that, and like he'll just like walk away like not satisfied.
Yeah. So I would venture that the reason you like extroverts, it's not all extroverts. It's probably oblivious extroverts. The extroverts that are so oblivious to your signals that they just keep plowing forward.
I think you might be right.
Right? So now this is really
Or
interesting.
just don't care.
Huh?
Or just don't care.
Right. Yeah. Right? So they're oblivious or they don't care. And then that's really good because then your negative reaction does not tamper them. And then you can kind of get along for the ride. And I think you warm up. Right? I think you're a touch glacial. But you can get warmed up. Like we've seen you get warmed up today. So, thoughts, questions? That's what I got for you, buddy.
I have to think a lot more about it. Like it's that I'm just not aware of my emotions, or a lot of my emotions. It's a difficult thing to, I guess, accept because
So
yeah,
I don't think you should accept it. Explore it. Explore it. Right? So, and there's all kinds of other stuff. Like if you don't want to focus on that, that's okay. I think another thing is just focus on the way that you are with people. And I think there are certain things that you're going to really have to do, which is Dale Carnegie again, which is smile. Like, I think that's law number 4 of like, or rule number 4 of how to win friends and influence people. And I think your smile is like, you know, because you say you're embarrassed about your smile. It looks like you have a pretty good smile.
Thanks. I mean, in my mind, it's like you're just saying that. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm complimenting your hair, right?
Yeah,
Or your mustache. Not just picking some random thing and saying that those are both fabulous, which they are, by the way.
That I would take as very genuine.
Why?
I don't know. I guess I don't think my smile. I think my smile sucks.
Can we see it, or is that too hard for you? Well, that's
I
a
don't know.
fake one. That looks it.
That's the pose. That's the smile I do for photos, and I hate that.
Yeah, that smile is awful, bro.
Yeah,
that's not a smile; it's a grimace.
No, not the fake one, but like the one I did after. I don't know. I guess maybe you didn't tell the difference, which is not good.
No. I saw a real one afterward. That one was great.
Yeah, that one I don't like.
Do it with me. That's fake. That one you don't like.
That one I don't like.
Well, I mean, it's hard because your hair is. You leave it that way on purpose so you can't see the top of your smile.
Not on purpose, no.
Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of weird, right? That's a whole other thing that needs to be dug into. Is what I mean. If you don't like your smile, then I don't think it's like objectively atrocious or anything. That grimace, that fake one, that was awful.
I mean, yeah, I'm aware of that. I mean, I was kind of doing that on purpose, but like even the real one, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's Locrian. Locarian?
Look, that's the first one.
Locrian. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that you got to kind of think about a little bit and work on. And I think one thing is really understanding why you dislike your smile so much too. Right. I don't think it's objectively bad. But the question is, where did you get such a fixated idea that your smile is atrocious? And like that's emotional, bro. Is that?
I think so. A couple of things. I think I have thought about it. My friend. One of my friends is like really. Oh yeah, it's just like it's all internal. Like you just need to work on yourself, like internally. And or in my mind, I think that's kind of just bullshit. Like, oh, you shouldn't seek validation or whatever, which might be true to some extent. But it's like, if I smile and people don't react or smile back, or even like, and I get a negative response, there is no human on earth who's going to, not think that sucks to smile more. It's Pavlovian or whatever.
When did you stop smiling?
It might have been when I was in like elementary school or something.
Yeah, so that's the kind of shit that you should dig into with a therapist, bro. Because I think like there's all kinds of stuff, man. And I'd say one thing, which is that it's not, your friend said it's all internal or whatever. I don't think it's all anything. So I think in your case, you genuinely have a lot of different things going on. And like it's going to be adjusting a bunch of levers, a small amount over time. I don't think it's so simple as anxious attachment or a diagnosis or, because you're aware of some of your emotions, but I think that this stuff really cascades. And especially if we're talking about relationships, like a lot of that is emotional awareness. Because the other thing that happens is when you argue with your emotions, you may detect them in some way and you kind of get rid of them that way. This goes back to the irritability. They will surface again in a different form, which is usually something like irritability. So one of the 3 largest willpower drains is suppressing emotions. So if you're carrying around a lot of emotions, you will see irritability come out quite a bit. It'll just empty your willpower.
Are you waiting for me to say something?
Are you waiting for me to say something?
No, my mind was wandering off.
Okay. Maybe enough for today. What do you think?
I had a question.
Yeah.
So what if I, don't want to smile at all that day? What if I'm just like, some days I'm more emotionally numb and I'm ordering my coffee or something. Some days I will genuinely, I'll do a smile or whatever, and it feels pretty natural. And then other days I just don't want to at all, and I just grab my drink and go.
That's not a question.
I mean, so what if I don't want to smile? Like, you're saying just smile more. Maybe that's not what you're saying. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great question. So what if you don't want to smile? So that I'll turn the question back on you. What do you want to determine what your life looks like? The way you feel on a particular day?
No.
Okay. So then smile. So there's a couple tricky things about smiling in particular. The first is that I think that, so this is where things get so tricky, right? And I think this is why you haven't figured it out, because I don't think it's simple. I think it's very complicated. So on the one hand, we have this whole fucking validate your emotions, right? So if I feel a particular way, I'm allowed to feel. I shouldn't suppress it. I shouldn't artificially smile. I'm grumpy. Let me be grumpy. And the whole world is like, yes, you should be grumpy because you're entitled to your feelings. You're like, yeah, right? On the flip side, I ask a question, do you want your feelings to dictate your life? And people are like, no, right? We have all these people who are like super hardworking, and they're like, when I felt like quitting, I didn't give up. I kept going. So fuck my emotions. When I was angry, I forgave. And when I was sad, I got up and got out of bed. And when I fell in love, I had an affair. Like, there's on the one hand, we're like, you're entitled to your emotions. And on the other hand, everyone's like, oh, like, fuck your emotions and just do what you need to do. So what's the right way to do it? So this is where I'd say, in your case, I would learn how to smile genuinely when you do not feel like smiling. It isn't artificial. And then particularly with smiling, I think is important because there's something weird going on with smiling. There's something weird. Like it's like some kind of raid boss level weird skull icon mob that's wandering around amidst all your other problems. And I think you should smile, and that's where like smiling genuinely is about tapping into something good. And so I think your biggest problem is not just that you should smile, it's that when you're in a particular, let's say, headspace, let's not call it an emotion. When you're in a particular headspace, you have trouble getting out of it. And that's going to sabotage your social relationships. Because now you have a huge problem. Okay, you end up with these situationships. Why? Because when you're really into someone, it creates a headspace. And that headspace, you don't really control very well. It starts dictating things to you. It starts making it hard for you to put yourself out there. You put yourself out there and then you get rejected or whatever, right? And like we don't really know what goes on, but my point is that I think it's very important for you to be flexible. Whether internal flexibility is not there, right? So we see that constriction in the way that you talk about things. We see some of that kind of stuff. And so I'd say when you don't feel like smiling, you should learn how to smile. And that's where you think about something positive and then you look up. There you go. And then let's see it. Real one. Don't leave me hanging, bro. Don't leave me hanging. I feel like an idiot. Help me out. Help me out. Come on.
This is not a smile. Is this not enough?
Do you feel like smile? There you go.
I mean, yeah, that was it.
It was very hard.
I mean, that was a very genuine one though.
Which one?
That was like,
yeah, I think we saw a genuine one in there.
Like because of the emotion that I felt in that moment. That's what happened.
Yeah.
The one before was trying to force it, and that's hard.
Yeah. So, and I think you've got, and it's interesting, even the way that you laugh, you constrain it very quickly. Do you see that? You don't let yourself laugh. You don't let it out. You try to rein it in. Ugh. Do you know what I mean or no?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I think we got to, whatever that is, like that's got to start moving along. It feels very calcified to me. So, and once that opens up some, I think a lot of your stuff will get better. Like hopefully the psychosomatic stuff will get better. Hopefully your relationships will get better. I don't mean that it's all this thing. Like it's not like, oh, we found the key and now that we turn it, waved a magic wand. But I think 10%, 20%.
What do you think? It's like I asked, like one day I'll feel not that great and not want to smile. So in my mind, like the whole RNG thing that I mentioned earlier, it feels like that really dictates my emotions for that day. But is that really just headspace? I mean, do you think it's like things I'm going through at that moment are manifesting? Like maybe the next day I wake up, I'll just
Yeah, so it's a great question. And yes, let's understand this. So, see, this isn't a trait, it's a state. So there is variability in our emotional experience from day to day. Why do we feel scuffed on some days and feel like good and free and relaxed on other days? There are a couple of different things that go into that. So the short answer is no one really knows. But I think that how much you sleep is a huge part of it. How much of your suppressed emotions is a huge part of it. I think another part that probably contributes quite a bit is, are you internalizing or externalizing your attention? I would guess that the more internalized your attention is, the worse things are. Right? So there's all kinds of factors that can go into the state of irritability that you have, including things like blood sugar and all kinds of stuff. So there's all sorts of different variables. I think that you can start to track those back, and this is where doing some kind of like emotional practice before you go to bed could help a lot the next day. Like doing some kind of meditation, specifically focusing on your like what your day has been like. So I think like a meditative rewind practice would be really good for you, which is when you sit down and then you start at the end of the night and then you go back to one, let it out, buddy, let it out. Let it out. What?
just thought I just thought about something else somewhere.
Yes, that's good, right? So let it all out. So think through your emotional experiences of the day and what you liked and disliked. And then yeah.
So during this meditation, I should actually be thinking about things that happen, not just like my breathing.
Yeah, no, you want to think about, okay, so it's like, let's say it's 10:30 p.m. and you're like, okay, well, like, what was the last thing that happened? Well, I didn't really feel like flossing today, but I went ahead and did it anyway. And then, so that was kind of annoying. And then before that, like, my food delivery came late and then they screwed up the order and my French fries were soggy. So that was kind of annoying. And then this thing happened and, like, that was pretty cool. Like, we had a late game clutch play and then we ended up winning. So that was pretty sweet. And then I like left work and I had plans to go to the gym, but I felt so like physically tired from all this physical crap that's going on. So I felt like kind of guilty, but also like couldn't. So just go through and rewind the day. And hopefully people wake up in the morning feeling pretty good. And so you'll sort of settle your emotional stuff and just acknowledge what you experienced.
I guess that just takes practice because a lot of when I think about things that happen, it's really like jumping around to really not organized.
Yeah. So that's why you want to go chronologically. Right. So there's the other thing is you mentioned some rumination and stuff. So once again, you're not in control of your mind. Your mind decides what to think, and then you don't have the ability to restrain it or move it in a different direction. So that needs to be worked on. So in terms of your internal emotional state, where your cognitions go, all that stuff can be leveled up. And that's why I don't think it's like just one thing. It's just there's this thing and there's this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. I think if it was one thing, you would have figured it out.
Yeah. Do you think, well, what about my sleep? You think my sleep is 100%? Probably because of, because waking up early and stuff, that's like a classic, depression symptom, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think sleep is also more complicated, but could be some degree of obstructive sleep apnea, which you have. So, as you adjust to the CPAP, that could help some. So, and then because there's all kinds of weird intersections between like sleep apnea and depression. So, just to give you one example. So, when you actually have these apneic episodes, which is a period where you don't breathe. So, when you don't breathe, your body triggers a survival mechanism. Your body thinks you're drowning. So then there's a surge of like cortisol and adrenaline. And what does cortisol do to your immune system?
Weakens it.
Strengthens it. It makes it. It's the pull. It weakens it, yes, but it's the grenade that's pulled, and then you're holding on to it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that'll make your autoimmune stuff worse. The other problem is when you've got that cortisol and adrenaline and stuff, it's going to shape your thoughts in a negative way. So you'll feel more anxious, you'll feel more depressed. It all has negative effects on your mind. So then that may tip your depression over into early morning awakening or whatever. And then the third reason that you may wake up in the morning in a panic is because you were physiologically drowning a few moments ago, but you had no recollection of that. So there's all kinds of intersections around sleep where, and then if you've got restless leg on top of that, that, by the way, is consistent with your irritability. So we know that there's a subtype of depression called depression with anger attacks. And so these are people whose depression is not really filled with sadness. They're just frustrated and pissed off all the time. The really interesting thing is that these people respond well to the same medications as people with restless leg syndrome. So one of the treatments for depression with anger attacks is actually treatment for restless leg. So there's something weird where the neurotransmitters involved in the way that the medication works. There's some kind of common pathway. We don't really know how that works.
Are we talking about like SSRIs?
Nope. So these are dopaminergic agents like ropinirole, which, many, this isn't like true. There's no like evidence-based guideline. It's just, there's some academics who study this stuff a lot and they have particular theories and clinical experience. So that's what this is based on. There's no like evidence-based guideline. I don't know that the average psychiatrist will know this. My point is that with sleep, it's very, very complicated. You, my friend, are very complicated, and there is no simple answer. But there's a place to start.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. Is it normal at all if, when I first started taking Lexapro, I mean, it worked literally like overnight. My sleep, I finally slept a good night of sleep, and a lot of my symptoms were just gone. Is that something you see?
Generally speaking, SSRIs do not work overnight. So they don't tend to be short-acting medications. So usually what we know about the mechanism of action of SSRIs is that they tend to change the transcription in your neurons. So what happens is your genes will activate in a new way, and you will make new cellular machinery, which is why they take about 2 to 8 weeks to really hit full effect. That being said, I mean, who the hell knows? So people can have all kinds of reactions, and we don't really know what happened. But if you had one good night's sleep, so I don't know if it's because maybe you were mentally relieved and then you just got a good night's sleep and the sleep did a lot for you. I mean, who knows? We don't know. Right? That resolution of questions is really best when you have someone who's prescribing your medication who knows you really well. That's when you'll really get to that level of like understanding of what's going on with this medicine and me.
My original psychiatrist, I'd ask him this stuff, and he's just like, I don't know, maybe. Not very useful.
Yeah. So I think that unfortunately, there are some psychiatrists out there who are not the most attentive to their patients' experiences.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, that's not what when we teach about SSRIs, when we learn about SSRIs, I don't tell my patients like, here's a pill, it's going to transform you by tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't expect it to, but it kind of did.
I mean, who knows? Maybe you had just a burst of serotonin and that felt really good. Who knows? There are many mechanisms that could explain what happened to you, I would say. Placebo being one of them. But remember, placebo doesn't mean it's fake. I mean, so if you've got all this stuff that's boosting your cortisol level and then you finally de-stress, because we know that everything that you mentioned is sensitive to stress. So placebo may be far more effective for you than for the average person. That's possible too. All right. We done for the day?
I wish I could have infinite sessions, but you know.
So what's your takeaway from today, Locrian?
It sounds like I am indeed just emotionally experiencing things that I guess I'm not fully aware of. And it is impacting me in other ways other than emotional.
Yeah. I think that that's a very reasonable takeaway. So I'll give you one last point. So what I want you to pay attention to, so if anyone out there is in a situation like yours where there's more emotional stuff going on than we're aware, and people will oftentimes feel like I'm very aware of my emotions, that's not incorrect, okay? So you're right. But I'll give you one kind of clue. So look at your reaction to your initial impulse. That's where you'll find the emotion and how it gets toned down. So you'll notice that you have this initial response and then you'll like rationalize it away. You'll suppress it in some way. You'll say, oh, I don't have the right to complain. You'll do something to yourself. And that's where you should look. And really tune into that original thing and where that original response comes from. Don't devalue it. And if you're lucky, as you start valuing your own reactions a little bit more, you may become less sensitive to the valuing or devaluing of other people. Cool.
One last thing, actually. How often do you see people like me?
What do you mean?
In the way that, like, all these symptoms and stuff like that, you know? Psychosomatic, I guess psychosomatic illness.
So people like you. So let's understand. I don't know what you mean by like you, but here are the three things that I would say. First of all, how often do I see ruggedly handsome Iranian men with beautiful smiles? Not as often as I would like. Okay. So people like you. How often do I see people in our community who are successful in tech, struggle with social things, have some physical problems, or just not happy in life despite the fact that they are very intelligent and can work incredibly hard? Very often. How often do these people have an emotional component that is missing in some way? Very often. How often do these people also have something in their parentage? For example, they're second generation immigrants. Parents weren't really super emotionally available. Very often. How often do I see people have a non-perfect relationship with their emotions and have physical problems? All the fucking time. So a lot of my clinical work was in dealing with psychosomatic illness because doctors would get fed up. And then they would send them my way. And they're like, this person's fucking crazy. And then the crazy thing is that I know what crazy looks like. They're not crazy. There's something else going on. There's something about the connection between their mind and their body where even if we don't know, we don't have a medicine for cold-induced urticaria, let's say, or not one that you would want to take. I mean, you could take, Benadryl or something, but you don't want to be taking Benadryl all the time. So then what happens is, what can we do? We start working on emotions some, but we also do a lot of mind-body practice, and that tends to work pretty well. Last question is, how fucked are people like you? And I'd say the only reason that they feel it's very logical to think you're fucked because you're smart and you've been at this for 27 years and you haven't made a whole lot of progress. Maybe you've made some, who knows how you rate that. Arguably you're worse off than you were 5 years ago. So people think that they're very fucked, which I think is very logical. How fucked are you? I don't think you're fucked. I think that there's so many different pieces here that as you start working on them, you can really turn this boat around. Now, will you ever be comfortable with your smile? Like, who knows? Like, maybe all it takes, and this is where, like, I can't solve that. Like, what you really need is you need to be hopelessly in love with someone who is hopelessly in love with you back, and they need to tell you that your smile is beautiful. Maybe that's what it takes. You know, like, maybe what love is for you is when you're with someone and you don't feel embarrassed about your smile. Like, that's how you know that there's a keeper. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that we don't know. But I absolutely see those as possibilities for you. We good?
Yeah. I actually feel better than I did earlier.
Weird. How do you understand that?
I don't know. Catharsis, I guess.
Nope. I've been validating the shit out of you, bro.
I think it's both.
Okay, fair enough. So notice what happened. You said something. What did I say?
You
Nope.
disagreed.
And then I said, this is what's going on. And you're like, I think it's both. Good. Right? So I may have just screwed the pooch there. But yeah, no, I mean, I think, and when I say validating the shit, I don't mean in a manipulative way. I mean, like,
Yeah, no.
I recognized that when people in periods of expertise tell you what's going on, you don't like that. Which is okay. But yeah, I'm glad you feel better. That's what I should have said. I kind of made a big mistake there, but I'm glad you feel better, and like, I'm optimistic for you, man. Thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for sharing your experience of things. I know I didn't make it easy on you. We don't make it easy on people. And I'm still now I'm going to have to go back and watch the timestamp and see what someone said in chat to make you laugh, because that was there it is. Look, I couldn't do it, but chat did it. That's a beautiful smile. That's a great smile.
You know, I have this problem where it's just that I laugh at the stupidest things. Like whenever my first therapist said CBT, I couldn't hold back my laughter.
Yeah, I mean, so this is where, like, who the fuck knows? Maybe you're like, really the solution is Twitch chat. Like, maybe Twitch chat saves Locrian. And yeah, that was did you feel embarrassed about your smile there?
No.
Yeah, so I think and that was a great one. I mean, I would go back and, like, we can freeze frame it on and just look at yourself. Like, that's a happy dude. Like, that's genuine. It's great.
For the record, when the person said that, it was just like, why would someone say that? I wonder if he was banned or something. I don't know.
That's all. It's all karma, man. It's all karma to bring you to this moment, because Dr. K couldn't do it, but some fucking random chatter.
Yeah.
All right, Locrian, thanks a lot for coming, man.
All right, thank you so much.
Best of luck. And thank you for being a part of the community, bro.
All right. Bye, guys.
Adios. All right, chat. I don't know what's going on. Really? I mean, we tried to get him to smile, right? And it didn't work. And that's how it is. In the words of someone very wise, it do be like that sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I think all that stuff is pretty applicable, by the way. So, like, I think this is something that we see a lot in our community, is a combination of some amount of emotional... I don't even think it's like emotional color blindness, because there's two patterns of it, right? Sometimes we don't know what we're feeling, but sometimes if we're not careful, we will actually suppress or devalue our own feelings so quickly. It'll happen like this. The emotion pops up, and then automatically your mind is like, nah, meh, that's wrong. We shouldn't feel that way. Meh. And if you're not careful, it'll mess you up, man. So that suppressed emotional energy, we don't really know what exactly it does, whether it gives you dreams, whether it gives you eczema, whether it gives you this, whether it gives you that. But the one thing that we do know is we have lots of signals that show that if you think you're the Iceman, you're probably not the Iceman. Or that the Iceman is brittle in other places. Right? Like, because ice shatters. And so that's what we tend to see a lot, is this kind of like floating up irritability, tilt at noobs on the internet, call it whatever you want to, all kinds of challenges. So take care of yourselves emotionally. And even if you're struggling with stuff, there's a lot of evidence that shows that psychotherapy is effective for things like fibromyalgia. It doesn't mean that it's in your head. It means that in those illnesses, we want to take advantage of all the mechanisms possible. And one of the things that we know is that we can calm down your immune system by managing your emotions. That's just Physiology 101 or neuroscience. I don't even know which 101 it is. Medicine 101, I suppose. Maybe not even 101, maybe 201 or 301, because it's actually kind of an advanced concept. But anyway, it works. So by all means, do physical stuff to take care of yourselves. You know, I think that it sounds like this person did not have the best relationship with his therapist or his psychiatrist, but I think it's like people out there aren't perfect, and you gotta keep trying. And it's really all about fit. And I've had my fair share of patients who thought I was a terrible therapist. Doesn't make me good or bad. It just means that it's about fit. Right? So sometimes I'd push people and sometimes they'd like it. And sometimes they wanted, someone who was just endlessly validating and never challenging. And that's how it is. So find the person who's right for you. So thank you all very much for coming today. Let me just see what else we got. So huge props to Locrian. We've got a deep dive into detachment on the membership side on Wednesday, and then we're doing another viewer interview on Friday. So people have been wondering, hey, where are the viewer interviews? We're bringing them back, okay? So y'all stay healthy, stay safe.